Okay, so this is the Excel. It's in the chapter 9. Right in with the modules. So we're using the hypothesis test for a proportion. So these are the only two you use in chapter 9. And for this one then, in a certain school district, it's observed that 24% of the students in the elementary school were classified as only children, no siblings. However, a special program for talented and gifted children, 64 out of 197 students are only children. School district administration wanted to know if the proportion for children in special programs is significantly different from the proportion of the school district. Test at alpha equaling 0.05. What is the hypothesis population proportion? So the hypothesis was the 24% written as a decimal because they observed 24%. We wanted to test different, so that means two-tailed, because different would mean greater or less than, just different than it. So that's a two-tailed test. Oops. Two-tail is not equal to. So it should be this one here, because it's our proportion was 0.24, and we were showing that it was different than it. So it should be B. Now using for the Z value and the P value, all of that will be found in the table. So if we go to the table and plug our values in, the significance level was 0.05.
Video.
The sample size was 197. The number of yeses was 64. And the population proportion is the 0.24. Test statistic is right here, 2.789. Now the p-value is what tells you whether to reject or not. This was a two-tail, so this is our p-value, 0.005, because it was two-tail. If it's right, it's this one. If it's left, it's this one. Now, if the p-value is less than alpha, you reject. If the p-value is greater than alpha, you fail to reject. Oops, I went a little too high. So our alpha was 0.05, and our p-value is 0.005. So our p-value is less than alpha. So that's what you want to check to decide that this part here. And it tells you right here, if the p-value is less than alpha, you reject. And our p-value was 0.005, and our alpha was 0.05. So this is less, so we reject.
Okay. So
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. So all of that I get and I understand.
Okay, so then it's just this very last part.
The very last part.
Okay, so if we are rejecting the null hypothesis, that means we are accepting that the second one, which is that it differs. So there is sufficient evidence to warrant rejection of the assertion. There is a different proportion only children in the gifted program. Let's see this one. There is not, we know it's not this one because there was sufficient evidence to reject. The sample the data assertion, a different proportion. There's not sufficient. Okay, so the not sufficient ones, it's definitely not those because there was enough to reject. So it's either the first or the third. Now, this one's just saying the sample data supports the assertion. But when you're doing that test, then you are definitely saying the proportion is different, not just the sample, you're saying for all. And so it should be the first one.
That there is sufficient evidence?
Oh, they're saying the sample. Wait a second, let me see. It should be everyone, because there was sufficient evidence to warrant rejection of the assertion that there is a different proportion. The sample data supports the assertion that there is a different proportion of only children. These are both saying the same thing. I actually like the wording of the first one better. But whoever made this test, they want this one, the sample data, because they're both correct. There is sufficient evidence. I don't know. They are both correct, and I would accept both answers. What I do is at the end, anyone who doesn't have an A, I go through and check all the tests first for strange things like this or little rounding errors. And then if you still don't have an A, then I go through all the assignments and double check that something like this didn't happen. I think both are correct. They mean the same thing. But they're saying to use just the sample data supports it. Let's see what the next one does. Oh, it doesn't ask it.
So I thought I had it. I just selected there is sufficient evidence to warrant rejection.
Yeah.
And
And
that
I
was
agree with that.
incorrect.
Yeah. I think they're both saying the same thing. Because normally, if you reject the null, you're accepting the other one because there's sufficient evidence.
If
It
we're
should be
rejecting the null, we are accepting the alternate hypothesis.
exactly.
Okay.
So both of those to me mean the exact same thing. I'm not sure. I'm going to send a thing to the writer of this one just to see why they're not accepting the other one. But I
Okay.
will go through, I would give credit for either one of those. Technically, they're both correct.
You hit sample, yeah. So when I hit the answer key, it wants to sample one.
Yeah. And I'm not sure why, because you're taking the sample to show that it's true for all samplings. So it's not just that sample.
Okay.
The only thing I can think of is because it wasn't the same population. Like this one was from students at an elementary school, and the other one was students from a gifted program. And maybe that's why. But that's really like pushing the border. I think they're both correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a couple more, but I won't take all the time up on me if someone else wants to go.
Okay, we'll take turns. Does someone else have specific one? And I can go into whatever section it is and whatever problem. It just might have different numbers.
A question about It's chapter 8. I was having a hard time on chapter 8, confidence intervals, proportions.
Okay. So chapter 8, confidence interval proportion.
Yeah. I'm having a hard time setting up the Excel sheet. I'm trying to set up the Excel sheet like when I watch the videos and when I watch your videos, and um it's not putting out the right it's like saying I have an error, and I tried to fix it, but I couldn't seem to fix it.
Okay. Let's look. So we would use confidence interval proportion.
Yeah.
That's the problem. I gotta go up a little further. The proportion one is the point estimate one,
Mm-hmm.
and then this one's the mean, and this is sample size. So we'll go to this one. Okay. Now when it doesn't open, you want to click here. There it goes.
Oh, okay. I tried to do my own actually because
Oh, that could be why then, yeah. So when it won't open, they'll have a link up here. Some of times, like this one for some reason doesn't just open for me. I have to click here. And then
okay, it didn't do that for me either. So that's
oh,
what
okay.
I
That's
thought.
probably
Thank
okay.
you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. But we'll do one. Just was there a certain one or
No, it was all of them. I was just having trouble with it, and then I was trying to figure it out, like how to input it manually, and then it wasn't doing it either.
mm,
So that's why I was having trouble.
no
Thank you.
on? You're welcome. On this one, you have to be careful. Sometimes they give the proportion. If if they give the proportion instead of how many yeses there were, um, he says the person in charge of the course says you want to enter the proportion, but then like if I enter in here, it's gonna change um the program, or not program, but the formula that's there. You need to close it and reopen. So you can, if they give proportion, you can plug it in here, but then you got to close it and reopen it because it changes things.
Oh,
You do want to
okay.
be careful of that.
I also had a question about the same one. I also had a question about the proportion. The first question it was.
Okay, so
Um,
this one here
mm,
from this section.
I think so.
Okay, well, let's do this
Uh,
one.
no, it says in a recent poll, 230 people were asked if they like dogs, and 24% said they did. Find the margin of error for this poll at the 95% confidence level. In four, give your answer to 4 decimals if possible.
Which
Yeah.
question is that?
I'm not
It's
seeing.
it's chapter 1, or it's question 1 for me, but it might be different for other people.
Yeah, it must be. I'm not seeing it. Okay. Um, what was what was it again? Go ahead. I'll write it down and then I'll bring it up on my screen.
Okay. In a recent poll, 230 people were asked if they like dogs, and 24% said they did.
24 or 24%?
24%.
Okay. All
Find the
right.
margin of error.
And did they give us like a percent? Like alpha?
No, I don't think we got into these yet. This is chapter 8. This is for confidence intervals, proportions.
Okay. Um
And that's question number one.
yeah,
Yeah.
And that's under the proportion, right?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know why it's not coming up on mine. But I think there's a few different ones. It's probably in there somewhere. Okay, so this is our sample size. This is our proportion. And we want to find the margin of error. Right here is margin of error, MOE. So when we type in, yeah, we do need a confidence level. It should have given you a confidence level or interval.
95% confidence
Okay.
level.
So they didn't give us the number of yeses, but they gave us the sample size, which was 230. And the confidence level as a decimal, 0.95. And then the proportion was 24% as a decimal. And the margin of error is right here. If you needed the confidence interval, it's right here. And the Z value or test statistic, 1.95996.
Okay, thank you. That was really easy, probably since the Excel sheet. I tried to make my own and I just could not figure it out.
And that's probably what the whole, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Who's next?
Can we go back to,
Did you have a question, Barbara? I can't hear you for some reason. Let me bring my chat up. Can anyone else hear her?
I don't hear anybody else talking.
Okay. I see your mouth moving, but I can't hear you, Barbara, but you could type which problem in the chat and I'll bring it up. Chapter 9, hypothesis test. Basic errors. Okay, and what number? Number 1? Okay. Wait, it said basic errors, didn't it? Maybe it's under concepts. Did anyone else? Which one was it? I'm not finding errors. Oh, it's chapter 9, that's why. Okay. So on these ones, you're just setting up the hypothesis. Now, some of these, this should always be equal to, but there are some I noticed that, like if this one's greater than, this will say less than or equal to. And I think it's just some books, depending on the writer. But this one should always be equal to. Only 39% of registered voters voted in the last election. Will voter participation be even lower? So this is our hypothesis. This is a proportion, so it will be a p instead of a mean. If they said the mean or the average number of voters, then it would be mu. But since it's a percent, it's a proportion. This should be equal to. And then this is your value written as a decimal, so 0.39. The second one is the test, but this part and this part should be the same. And then this one is whatever they mention. In this case, they said lower, so it would be less than. If they said greater or more than, then you'd use the greater one. And then if they say different from it, then it's not equal to. Any questions on that one? Does that help? Do you need to do another one? Or oh, she's she's not muted either. Okay. Did you have enough? For some reason my video is first. Well, it is recorded, so you can watch it. And then you could always type in what one you have a question on. Okay, Jean, you want to go next?
All right, thanks. Chapter 9,
Okay,
doing chapter 9, question 11 for me.
okay. And chapter 9, proportions again? Was that the one?
Yeah, yes,
And what number?
11.
Okay. I have to open the other table. I better close it each time or I'll start using the wrong one. Okay, so we want also what some students do when they go to take the test, if they're taking chapter 9, they have both Excels open. Depending on how much time it takes to open and close it, it helps to have them open for an exam. And you said 11?
Yes,
Wait, was 11 the, I think 11's the one we did. No, it's not. Okay. Oh, that's 6. Okay, number 11. A researcher claims that 45, and this will help too, Barb, because we'll be setting up the hypothesis, which is what they're doing in that section. A researcher claims that 45% of U.S. adults think that the IRS is not aggressive enough in pursuing people who cheat on their taxes. You believe the true percentage is more than 40%, 45%. So you can kind of tell what your test is already. 45% is what they say it is, and we think it should be more than that. To test this, you take a simple random sample of 400 U.S. adults and find that 260 of them say IRS is not aggressive enough. Test at 0.10 significant. What is the minimum population size required?
that's the part of the question
Yeah, and
that I'm getting wrong.
this is a strange question, but while you're doing is you're we have 8,000. They're multiplying by 20. You want to multiply this by 20. I think all of them will be 20. There should only be like 1 or 2 of these questions, and they say that your sample size should be 20 times, the population be 20 times your sample. If you don't know what it is, then rule of thumb, it should be 20 times it. And that's all it is.
Okay, say that again slower.
Sure. Oops. So if you have a sample
And then on your question is 400, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So whatever yours is, you just multiply it by 20. Now, some of them only double it, but most of the time it's 20 times it, which would
Okay.
be,
How do you know that? Where do you get that information at?
um, I talked to my stats teacher because I couldn't find it in the book.
Yeah.
So the school I go to, I went and talked to him and I'm like, well, where are they getting this from? And he said, well, rule of thumb, you just multiply it by 20. And if you had this population, you would divide it by 20 and you'd need to find a sample at least that size.
So how do you know that by looking at that part of the question? What is the
Okay.
minimum population size required?
Anytime it's looking for minimum population, take your sample and multiply it by 20 every time. So anytime it wants minimum population size, multiply your sample by 20.
Okay.
These didn't come up last semester, so I thought they took those ones all out, but somehow it's back. But yeah, you just multiply by 20.
Okay. Multiply the sample.
Mm-hmm. Did you want to go through the rest of the problem though?
Uh, yes. Not all of it, but
Yeah, we'll go
the
through.
part. But you just want to go through maybe somebody else. So
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
we'll just go through because I'm probably going to need to fill this out anyway, so then we have the values. Um,
And then may I would you like for me to stop you when I have a question, or wait till you get completely finished?
if you have a question while I'm doing it, yeah, stop me.
Okay.
To find the number of successes, there's 40, wait, oh, they gave us it, 216. If they gave us the percent instead, you would just, like if they said 40% of them, then you would just take your percent times the total amount of people. But in this case, they gave us the number of yeses. Our test, this is a proportion because it's a percent. So it would be P. And then this should be, we're testing more right here. So the alternative, this is P. The alternative, these will both be 0.45. No, the alternative one is greater than. Sometimes they will want, oh, they don't. Okay. Sometimes they'll have less than or equal to. Technically, our book says it should always be equal to, but some instructors have less than or equal to. So you just want to watch for that. It will just be the opposite of this one. Now to find the test statistic, the p-value, you plug it in here to go all of those. So our alpha is 0.1 right here. Our sample size was 400. The number of yeses, 216. And the population proportion, that comes from your hypothesis. That's the 0.45. Now they wanted the test statistic and the p-value. Test statistics right here, 3.618. The p-value is here. We were testing greater than points to the right, so it's a right tail. So it's this one. And it says to round 4 places. This one here. 0, 0, 0, 1. And then if you look over here, if the p-value is less than alpha, you reject. Alpha was 0.1. The p-value is definitely less than 0.1, so we reject. Did something significant happen? Yes, because we're rejecting.
Is that a anytime we reject, that is an indication that means that something significant did happen?
Yes, there was enough there that we can reject it, so it was significant. Select the decision. Well, then we're rejecting. If we did not reject, then it wouldn't be significant enough because it's not significant enough to reject it. In this case, it was significant enough to reject.
Okay.
And then there's enough evidence to conclude that more than 45% of US adults think the IRS is not aggressive enough. So what happens is it takes your next one, the more than 45%. So since they rejected, it uses the more than part because we accept that. There's enough evidence to show it is more than 45%. The other,
Is that also to say we accept the alternate hypothesis?
yeah, exactly.
That's what
That's
okay.
exactly what it's saying.
Accept that to be true.
Correct.
Okay.
Trying to get that. There we go. Oh, that more than 45% of adults think the IRS is not aggressive.
And we simply just know that because in the alternate hypothesis, it's greater than.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So that part of the answers is essentially given to us when we fill in the correct information for the alternate hypothesis.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. This is interesting.
Madeline.
I don't have any more, I don't think.
Okay. Well, you could
If
still
I
stay on.
Okay, yeah, I'm still gonna stay on because this is the I'm not at chapter 9 yet, but I'm gonna be at chapter 9 probably this week, so maybe
Okay.
tomorrow. So I'm gonna still stay
Well,
on.
yeah, this will definitely help you. Um, Barbara, did you have another one? You could just type the problem and the section and I can bring it up. Or you can text me a picture of it. Yes, we could definitely do this every week. I think that the sections all of a sudden got hard and no one was coming to my office hours, so I wasn't sure, but they are on Saturday and Sunday in the morning, so I didn't know if that was why also. Okay, well then I will just keep going with Jean, or did someone else come on? Um, is it Dita?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, okay. I'm here quietly watching. I'm still
Well,
on.
that's okay. Was there any specific ones you had a question on?
No, actually. And I'm on the last test of chapter 8, so I'm not on 9
Okay.
yet either.
Well, then this will be good. It'll help you.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Did you have any questions in 8 though?
Actually, no,
Okay.
not it's not as hard as I thought it would be.
Good.
Thanks to your videos.
Well, thank you. I try.
Your videos
Well,
actually are really descriptive and they help me a lot.
Oh,
yes,
thank you.
they
I'm glad.
are.
Okay then, Jean, did you have another one?
Yes, thank you.
Uh-huh.
I'm happy for you, Dita. Keep going.
And I haven't
You're
made it to
almost there,
9
right?
yet,
You
huh?
only have 9 and 12, and 12 I think is the easiest chapter. I
Praise the
really do.
Lord.
Yeah, I think it's the easiest one.
All right, number 12, still in chapter
Number
9,
12.
question
Okay.
12.
Yeah, I think these are the most difficult ones. Well, no, I think the wording in chapter 3, huh? Okay, so number 12. The U.S. Department of Energy reported that 45% of homes in the U.S. were heated by natural gas. A random sample of 313 homes in Oregon found 149 were heated in natural gas. Test the claim that the proportion of homes that were heated in natural gas is different from. So notice this one didn't say more than or less than, it said different from.
Okay,
So,
stand by. Check the question. Number 12. Oh, so it's totally different from me.
oh shoot. All right, what does yours
It's
start with?
not. Given, I forgot what that symbol means. Trying,
Oh, P with a hat.
P with a hat. Is that proportion of the I can't remember what that means without looking at my notes. Portion of the sample maybe equals, and then, no, that's not sample. Well, it starts with the question of test the claim that the proportion of children in high income group that drew the nickel too large is smaller than 50%.
Hmm.
Test the claim that the proportion of children in the high income group.
Here we go. Oh no, that's cats. Test the claim that the proportion of people who owned. It's probably similar to that one. But it's test the claim portion. I got cats for both my test claims. Can
Cats. Yeah, I have children.
you send me a picture of it?
Yes.
On my, text me it. Do you have my phone number?
No, I need it.
Okay, I'll type it in the chat.
Okay.
So all of you, if you ever have a question, you can always send it to my text also. And on My Open Math, there's a spot that says Ask Your Instructor. And if you click on that, I will either, depending on the question, if I'll either work the question out in a video, or if it's a quick answer that you just forgot to put the fraction or something, then I'll just type it. But most of them I record videos for them.
I know Barbara asked this before, but are you gonna do one next week too in case I have any problems with chapter 9? It seems very hard.
Yeah, definitely. Is this a good day and time?
It's fine with me, but I can't.
Anytime that you do this, I'll be here.
Okay.
Likewise.
And actually, I didn't know you were doing this Saturday and Sunday. I don't know where I've been.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that
It
either.
was under the welcome letter.
Oh,
And
read? Okay.
then, yeah. But
Sorry.
that's okay. But yeah, we can meet like Saturday or Sunday at 9 o'clock. I will still be on, so if you ever get on at that time. But then if evenings are better, um, Thursdays are usually my best evening. But I can meet other ones if need be. I just have to see what day robotics is.
Also, the hint that we were able to click, that we were supposed to be able to click to show the different symbols, that never worked for me. Did
Oh,
anybody else
wow.
have that problem?
I forget do you remember what chapter that was?
Was
I
that?
think it was chapter 8.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 8. And wait, no, 8 was normal. Yeah, 8 was the normal
Maybe
distribution. I think it was 8. But
probably the concepts
was
then.
anyone else able to well, no, when I would have for the questions for the
Yeah.
when it would come up as a hint. Because I know
I didn't
it
have an
worked in your
issue.
video.
Oh, that one wasn't one. You're talking about the ones with all the symbols like mean.
Yes.
It came up for me. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe it was just me.
Unrelated, but I know they were doing work on the site today. I had to call tech support because I couldn't access this. So maybe that's what you
Could
were
be.
having trouble with, because I had to like sign in, sign out, restart my computer, restart Chrome. He did everything he did that for me, and it ended up working. So you might want
Another thing it can be is what login link you want to use the Google Chrome. And if you used a different one, sometimes things won't open.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's probably.
Wow. Okay, because I use Edge.
Oh, then that's it. Yeah, sometimes that
Okay.
happens. Were you able to send the picture, Jean?
I'm doing it again now. I sent it
Oh,
to
okay.
somebody else by mistake. Had one digit off. Well, somebody out there has like, what in the world is this? Okay, coming at you now.
Okay.
I'm going to get off. Thank you so much for it.
Oh, you're welcome.
I will probably be back Saturday if I have any questions, or Sunday. Thank you. It was
You're
nice meeting
welcome.
you all.
Nice
Nice.
meeting you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good night.
Okay.
You got it?
Yep.
Okay.
So test the claim. Test the claim that the proportion of children in the high income group that drew the nickel too large is smaller than 50%. Oh, you know what? I think this was from the section before. That could be why. But anyways, so this one we're just showing the claim. And we want to test drew the nickel too large. So test the claim that the portion of children in the high income group that drew the nickel too large is smaller than 50%. Smaller than 50% would be less than 0.5. The reason it's proportion is because it says here proportion, so we use P. If it said mean number of children, then we would use mu. Proportion uses the P. 50% is a decimal, that's why they're all 50%. But then is smaller than 50%, that's why you use the less than. Is that
Okay.
the only part? Oh, there is one
I
more.
got a,
Give.
yeah,
So then we need to find the test statistic. Oh, they gave us a
right.
0.01. Oh, there it is. I didn't even notice up here. Okay, so this is from our sample.
Yeah.
So then we'll come over here. Let me delete what's there. Okay, so our
Uh,
significance level was 0.01. Sample size was 35 right here. They didn't give us the number of yeses. They gave us the sample proportion. So that will go here with the sample proportion. Notice it says if you can input it manually if you're given it in the problem. So instead of yeses, we would put the proportion here, which was 0.2857. And then we need population proportion, which comes from the hypothesis. And then we wanted the test statistic, which is right here. This would be a left tail. So if we needed the p-value, it would be this one here, 0.005612. And this p-value is less than the alpha, so we would reject.
okay. Did you get the second text with the
Oh, let me see.
last part of the question?
Oh yeah, I did. Sorry about that.
That's fine. There again,
Mhm.
the conclusion is still what I'm struggling with.
Okay, so they gave us the p-value. They only went 3 decimal places. So it would be this one. And the p-value is less than alpha. So we reject. So the first two would definitely be wrong because there was enough evidence. Now, instead of this one, there is sufficient evidence to warrant the rejection, which I agree. It says the sample data supports the claim. So I would accept either one of those because when you write your conclusion, you're supposed to say, we reject the null hypothesis. There's sufficient evidence to warrant the rejection of the claim. Or wait, not the claim, to support the claim. Wait a minute. Oh yeah, the claim was that it was equal to. So to reject the claim, no, that's why it's not right on this one. There's sufficient evidence to reject the null hypothesis and accept the claim. You want to support the claim. And that's what, like, these are, say, not sufficient evidence, so they're definitely wrong. But you want one that says there's sufficient evidence to support the claim. Since this one says reject the claim, that's what makes it wrong. And the sample data supports the claim is this one. So it's that little part here that says reject that makes this one wrong. The claim was that it was less than. So this should say accept the claim. And that's what makes this one wrong.
So what's the difference between there is sufficient evidence to support the claim and the sample data supports the claim? Or,
Okay, so if it said there is sufficient, so we want sufficient to support. That's what we're looking for. We need both of those. Support the claim and sufficient evidence. The
Okay.
first one says not sufficient, so it's out. The next one says not sufficient, so it's out. This one says sufficient evidence, but instead of support the claim, it says reject, so it's out. So that's why that one wasn't any good. If it said support the claim, then these would both be the same thing. So it's those tiny little words.
okay.
You either want sufficient evidence and support claim or not sufficient reject claim.
Oh, okay. So two negatives. Okay.
I don't get that. Because what you're saying then the correct selection would be the sample data supports the claim.
Yeah. Because the claim, like they have the null, which was P equal to 0.5, and then the alternative is the claim. So you want to reject the null hypothesis and support the claim. So when you're doing them, you'll either have sufficient evidence and support the claim or not sufficient and reject the claim. You're gonna, and
I
that's why.
I don't see out of this question where you even see the null hypothesis.
No, they didn't put the null hypothesis in there. They just had you put the alternative. But the null hypothesis is always the opposite of this. It should always be equal to. But there's some that say just the opposite. But yeah, it does not.
So when I test a claim, that is the alternate hypothesis.
The claim part is the alternate, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was that little word rejection on that one that made it wrong. Because it said reject. Usually they'll have two not sufficient and two sufficient. But yeah, they wanted the last one.
Okay.
Was there any other ones?
Yeah, I think I had one more in chapter. Nobody else has anything. Chapter 9.
Okay. And the same thing, proportion?
Yes. Question number 10 for me.
Okay. Now I'm going to have to close this. When you use the sample proportion, you have to
Oh,
close
wait a
it.
minute. Okay. No, we did number 10 already, didn't we?
Yeah, we did do that one.
Okay. Checked.
Was there another
Okay.
one?
No, that was it.
That was it?
We're gonna find out what happens on the test.
Okay. Well, if you have any questions when you're done with the test, let me know and we can, or I can go over them. But, did you have any other questions, Barbara? You're gonna have to type it in the chat because I can't hear you. Okay. Um, the true and false questions are strange. Now that's was that in chapter 8 or 9? Oh, error 9. Okay. Okay. A, a researcher hypothesizes that the average student speed less than 20% of their total studying time reading the textbook. Spends, sorry. The appropriate hypothesis test is a left tail test. Let me. A researcher hypothesizes that the average student spends less than 20%. So we're testing, it would be P because it's a proportion, and it said less than 20%. Less than points left, so it's a left tail. And here they're saying appropriate hypothesis test is the left tail test for a population mean. Now, it is a left tail test, but this is a proportion, 20%. So it's P, not M, not mu. So when it's a percent, that's a proportion. So it would be P. So this would be false. Wait. The average student spends less than 20% of their total studying time. The average student spends less than 20%. Oh, because it said population. Real population mean. I think it should be a proportion, but I think the reason they're saying mean is it says the average, no, spends less than 20% of their total studying time. The appropriate hypothesis test is a left-tailed test for a population mean. This is not correct. Because this is the proportion of 20% of their total time. That's a proportion. Let's try another one. If the p-value is 0.003 and the level of significance is 0.05, is a hypothesis test for a mean, then we accept the alternative. What you want to look at is your p-value and alpha. If it's less than, we reject. If the p-value is greater than, we do not reject. If the p-value is 0.003 and alpha is 0.05, then we accept the alternative. Because it's less than, we reject H sub 0 and accept the other. Whoops, I'm not leaving enough space. So kind of the things we were doing in those larger problems, by doing them, they will help you answer these. So you might want to skip this section, do the problems, and then go back. So then these are easier to understand. Was there specific, or was it just the true and false? Oh, I hate the error one.
So, Mr. J, when we, in regards to terminology, when we reject and fail to reject, is that another way of saying we agree and disagree with the test?
Yeah. Yes, when you're saying you reject, so if you reject H sub 0, you're accepting the claim of the alternative one. I keep putting it in there. Claim. And then if you fail to reject or do not reject, it doesn't support the alternative. So there's not enough information to support the alternative or the claim. So your alternative is your claim. Was there? Yeah, I think the true and false are the hardest ones. And usually what I do, if a student doesn't have, like on especially the tests because they're timed, I give half the credit on a true and false, just to help with the points. So if you missed one, I would go in the test and give half. I wouldn't do it here because you could just do another problem. Suppose a sample size of 103 was used to conduct a left-tailed hypothesis for a single population mean. The null hypothesis is equal to, the p-value is 0.04, then there is a 4% chance that the population mean is equal to, the 4% chance is that the population mean, the p-value is 0.04. The p-value doesn't tell you the chance that they're equal to. The p-value tells you whether your test could reject or be accepted, depending on what alpha is. If alpha is 0.01, then it'd be greater, it would not reject. If alpha was 0.1, then we would reject. So it all depends on what alpha is. They didn't tell us that, so they can't say that. And that's what makes it false. But those ones are tricky. I recommend doing the other section first that we were doing and then going back and doing these, and I think they will be easier because you'll have used this and you'll have used setting these up, so then answering these questions I think are easier. Did you have any questions, Jean?
No more questions. I'm
Okay.
good.
Now, are
Then,
any of your videos for this like concept videos like you had for like the earlier chapters? You know, where you were like teaching the lesson instead of just doing the problems.
No, I don't have any of those.
Oh, okay.
Because the person in charge had made all those videos that are between the thing, and so then I just made my YouTube channel to go with it. But maybe I should do that. I definitely will for next semester.
Oh, is that the guy, Robert something in the,
Yeah, mm-hmm.
he called us
I
dumb
think
in
it's
the
Rapa.
video.
Mr. Rapa. Um,
Is he like the department head?
for statistics, yes, he's in charge of the stats class.
He makes me laugh in his videos. I don't know if he does it on
He is.
purpose, but really,
He is, that's just his personality. He's really nice.
I laugh. Hey, like, how does
Did
he
you have
know
any
me?
questions? Okay, well then, was there any other questions?
So, just to
I
be,
don't have
just
it.
to, your office hours are Saturday and Sunday morning, or not
Yep,
necessarily?
Saturday and Sunday at 9 o'clock.
Okay, alrighty. So I'll be ready with questions then.
Okay, then I will be on at 9. Oh, wait, not Saturday.
Okay.
My son has robotics Saturday now. I had to. So, but I will be there Sunday at 9, and then I will send an email out, but I think Thursday, same time, 7 o'clock, should work. But I want to double check it. But I will be on Sunday at 9.
Okay, perfect.
Okay,
That PM or AM?
a.m.
AM.
I don't think I have anything Sunday at 7 p.m. If you need to meet, if you have questions then just send me a text and I will get on. I shouldn't have anything on Sunday at 7.
Okay. But right now the plan is 9 AM.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
Yeah, it's my son's birthday next Tuesday, so we're celebrating it Sunday. But 9 a.m. will work, 7 p.m. will work. But I'm doing 9 a.m. for sure, and then if people have questions, I'll get on at 7.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay,
All right.
All right, Mr. T, thank you.
you're
Thank you so
welcome.
much.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.